computer. Okay, let's let Miss Vanessa in, and then we're going to get started on my screen share. Welcome, Miss Vanessa. Are you able to talk, or are you working too and just listening? So many people just listening. Oh, we have Miss Tina here. I am so happy everybody's showing up and wants to learn how to get rid of I can't afford it. It's so exciting. I am just so thrilled. Hello, Miss Tina. All right, you got in. Hopefully, if anybody else drops in, I'll be able to let them in and still do this presentation without flubbering up too much, because y'all know I'm blonde. So I can't wait to share this with you. I'm going to share my screen and we are going to get started. All right. So once I expand this, because I don't like seeing I don't know if y'all can see the pictures at the bottom of this. Do y'all see the extra pictures, or do you just see the picture?
Just the picture.
Okay, great. Because if I expand it, then I can't see anybody when they talk. I can't see anything. All right, we are going to talk about rewriting your story, overcoming the limiting belief of I can't afford it, because I can't afford it is a belief. And we are made up of so many beliefs that we have kind of gathered throughout our entire lifetime, starting from before we were even born, because we as infants growing in our mother's womb, we are, we hear everything. We are influenced by everything. So if you can mute, that would be great. I appreciate it. Now, how these beliefs impact our lives is that they limit us in believing that we either can participate in things or we shouldn't participate in things. It really narrows our life when we let limiting beliefs, dictate what we do. Because I can't afford it doesn't just mean about buying things. It means going on vacations or doing excursions or doing even activities in your own city with your families and stuff, when you think that money is something that is so limited. So now, where does this all begin? Where does the whole idea of I can't afford it come from? Well, we have to go way, way back in understanding, maybe to anatomy for some people. Maybe you learned it in school, maybe you didn't. Maybe this is the first time you've ever heard about the two sides of our brain. We have two sides of thinking. We have the conscious mind, and then we have the subconscious. And this is where a lot of the processes come into play that we don't even have any ideas about. Now, what is conscious thought? Well, conscious thought is the part of us that's talking, the part that notices our world, the part of us that is intentional, it's logical. It is the part of us that we can control. Now, the subconscious is the automatic part. It's what helps you breathe. It's what keeps your body going when you're asleep. It is the part of us that kind of runs so much of what we do that we don't even know. Science has determined in a lot of their studies that over 95% of what we do every day is controlled by our subconscious. So that means only 5% of what we do all day long, and we think we do a lot in 16, 20 hours? We think we do a lot with our conscious mind. And we really, science has proved that we don't. So the subconscious thinking controls your breathing. It controls your heartbeat. It controls things that you don't have to think about, that just automatically happen. When you get up in the morning, do you have to think about how to put your feet on the floor? Do you have to think about what the next logical thing is? No, you just go through your morning with habits. And that's where they're all stored. All those little habits that we have, they're all in our subconscious. Now, the differences between our subconscious and our conscious thinking is that we can control our conscious thinking. That's what actually programs our subconscious. The thing is the conscious mind has to decide what it wants the subconscious to do. The subconscious doesn't have a sense of humor, guys. It really doesn't. If you say that the world is all black, it believes you. It says, okay, the world is black. That's what it's going to reference everything in, that the world is black. If you say that the world is ugly or hateful, then that's what the subconscious will start understanding and dealing with in your emotional basis, that everything's hateful. The conscious mind programs the subconscious mind, and that the conscious mind makes all the decisions. The subconscious is listening. So then it influences, and you can change anything in your subconscious. It just takes reprogramming. Now, some examples of the subconscious versus conscious is that when you are deliberately thinking about a problem, or you're being analytical or rational, that's your conscious, while solving math isn't. So while your subconscious is thinking about driving, you don't actually have to think about how to put the key in. It's just done automatically. So limiting beliefs about money. What is limiting belief about money all about? Well, your limiting belief about money is about a negative attitude that comes up from probably how you were taught. How many of you remember going back to your childhood? Did anybody have parents that talked about money? You know, sometimes it's the things that have happened to us that we weren't raised in money. I wasn't raised in any money. I had a terrible, terrible scarcity mindset. My mom was a teacher way back, when I was growing up, and she was a single mom. She was probably the only single mom in the entire neighborhood, because she was a single mom when it wasn't the norm to be that. And she was on a teacher's salary. And if you think teachers don't make much money now, they really didn't make a lot of money back when I was a little girl. Now I'm 65 years old, and that was a long time ago. So my mom didn't talk about not having any money, but she would say all the time, I can't afford it. We don't have the money for that. We didn't never go shopping. I didn't learn how to go clothes shopping. Anybody enjoy going to the mall and going clothes shopping? I had an aunt that lived in New York City that would send me and my sister all of our clothes. And she was a little different. She was a little eclectic. Do you know what it's like wearing clothes that nobody in your whole school wears, in styles that kind of were a little ahead of the time? So it was really difficult growing up and not having any way to understand about money. So you grow up with limiting beliefs, or your belief, whether it's limiting or not, your belief about money all stems from your childhood. What went on, how your parents dealt with money, that all comes and grows and gets compounded as we go through our lives. So the limiting beliefs come from programming, and it's all about, we are programmed. It's a word that people think of with computers, but if you think about it, you can have a real little baby from China and bring it over here and get it raised by another set of parents here speaking English. That baby doesn't know Chinese. Even though it may be a Chinese nationality, it doesn't know Chinese. We are not born with, we are a blank slate when we are born. So all the things that come into us are what we would call programming. Now, if you've never really been explained about the power of the mind, your thoughts and beliefs about money, about, relationships, about anything, are all defined pretty much in your first 5-6 years. We really don't learn any new. Anybody ever read or hear the book, I learned everything before I went to kindergarten or in kindergarten? Anybody remember that book? That book was funny. It says, I learned everything I need to know in kindergarten, because in kindergarten, we're 5 years old, we're 6 years old. And that's our first introduction to actually being in a social setting outside, not with our parents. And so it takes all the programming we've learned up until then, and then it puts us in the social mix, and we learn about all of the things about the interrelationships of people. So your mind is gathering information all the time. It never forgets anything. We have a storage house that is growing each and every minute, hour of the day. So to break free from your limiting beliefs, you have to embrace abundance. You have to embrace some different kinds of thoughts. So examples of any of your programming are in the first things that come up when you say, or when you go to the store, or when your kids are with you and you're in the grocery store and they say, I want this, mommy, I want that, mommy. And you say, no, can't do it. It's not on the list. What do you say? I can't afford it. It costs too much. Maybe next week. The responses that we have is how we shape all of the beliefs that our children have and our children's children. And it's how our beliefs were all formed is in the reactions in these settings. Now, overcoming limiting beliefs is about recognizing and challenging each and every thought that you have that comes in and says, no, you can't. When you have a thought that says, no, I can't do that, I'm not smart enough, that is a limiting belief. And so when you start being aware that you have all these kinds of beliefs, then you can shift your focus from what it's actually saying no to, or I can't afford it, or I can't manage it, I'm not smart enough, whatever the belief is, you can start shifting it into saying something different. And you can start taking action towards actually solving the problem instead of letting it define you and having you quit and accepting that. Because in this life, you can either accept being a victim and that you're at the mercy of whatever life throws at you, or you can actually decide that I'm not going to be a victim. I can do something about this. Let me find out. Let me go learn. What do I need to do to change this the dynamics of this? So replacing your limiting beliefs with empowering beliefs. So how do you do that? Well, when you start replacing them, instead of saying, I can't afford it, is I'm choosing not to get this right now, but I can have it later. Because maybe you decide to start saving and putting money away for something. A lot of people nowadays are maxed out on their credit cards. So we have to go back to the old-fashioned way of doing things and saving a little bit each week towards the things that we want. So you just start replacing those attitudes and those things with, what can I do? What is one thought or one statement that I can change how this makes me feel? So you can learn new skills that can get you a better job or increase your value in your job situation. Or you can take on building your business outside of your current job and adding income that way. You either grow your income or you cut down expenses. So it's all about replacing and coming up with a strategy. So when we have these limiting beliefs, they affect everything in our life. They affect how we deal with our children, how we deal with our spouses, even our parents, because I'm taking care of my mom who is 91. And, you know, a lot of times her first idea is, we can't afford this, or we got to have this, and I don't know where I'm going to get the money from. So it's really important to start listening to what is even being said in any of the circle in your families. You know, from when you visit or have reunions or you go to cookouts, it's interesting to start listening to what people are all talking about and what they're saying they can and can't do. So the whole way that this can be eliminated is the coming up with a strategy for overcoming the belief. And that is how we move forward, is using our mind. You learned this limiting belief. You learned this programming by repetition. How many times did your parents say, we can't afford this? How many times do you tell yourself you can't afford it? If you can undo or repeat, I can't afford this, as many times as you said, I can't afford it, you start reversing it. But the thing is, repetition is the only way through mind power. And understanding mind power is that's how we harness the conscious mind to influence the subconscious mind. Because the conscious mind has to decide, I can't afford this. I'm going to do what I need to do to afford this. And certainly your mind's going to say, well, your checking account doesn't say that you can afford this today. It says that you can't afford this today. So the reality, when you start letting reality confine you, it will just keep repetitioning every week, because you say it this week, you'll say it next week, you'll see it say it the week after that. When will it change? Well, it changes when you stop saying it. When you start working at making a plan and start developing the skills that are going to put you in a better direction. I have a really neat homework that goes along with this that you are going to absolutely love. When I did this homework, it was just amazing how much it will change. You'll understand this better in a few minutes, how you're using your mind to change this. See, because mind power improves your cognitive abilities and your memory retention, because the more you say it, the more it will come out automatically to your out of your mouth, so your ears hear it. Okay. So positive thinking, everybody says, oh, well, just think positively. Well, you can think positively. It does improve your mental health. It'll improve your relationships. It's going to improve your overall well-being. But positive thinking can only take you so far. It's the repetition of the positive thinking every day that actually starts setting in. I have an example of that. I don't know how many of you have ever seen some of my posts about puzzles. Mom and I have a puzzle going on all the time. We put jigsaw puzzles. Anybody ever do puzzles? She seems to, we like it. It's something we do together. Well, I only buy hard puzzles. When I look online and I'm shopping for a puzzle, I look at its difficulty, because at this point we've done so many puzzles that if it's not hard, we'll get it done in an hour. And I like to be able to come back and forth and do my puzzles. Well, my mom, every time she goes to do it, she goes, I think this piece is lost. I think this piece is lost. I can't find it. I've been looking and looking, and this piece is just lost. It's missing pieces. And so we'll do the whole puzzle. We'll get it all done. And I said, look, Mom, we're not missing any pieces. So now when we do a puzzle, I say, Mom, are there any, have you found all the pieces yet? Have you finished it yet? And she goes, no, I'm working on it. But every time I would go in, because the puzzle sits right outside the microwave. So as I heat up my coffee, I don't have my coffee cup here, but as I heat up my coffee cup, I sit there and look, and I would tell myself every time I come to the piece, the puzzle, I find a piece. It's my lucky day. I found a piece of the puzzle. Every time I come up here, I find a piece of the puzzle. And now it doesn't matter what I do. I did this for 6 months. And now every time I walk up there, I see a piece. I can pick up, I look, I say, okay, I want to find that piece. And I find it because I've trained my mind to start knowing it and accepting that I'll find the piece of puzzle. She looks at me now every time I come up there, and she'll be working on the puzzle, and I'll walk up to heat up my coffee. And when I'm heating up my coffee, I'll sit there and find a piece. She goes, oh, ain't that? And I said, Mom, it's all about how we talk to each other, how you talk to yourself. I tell myself I'm going to find a piece of puzzle every time I come up here. And I do, because that's the reality that I've accepted. And that is what comes through. So, you know, positive thinking is really, really great, but positive action is what actually will move your needle in the direction. Now, your visualization. Does anybody like, it's kind of like dreaming, but it's like going to the movies, except you're the writer. You're actually the writer and the producer. And you can have visualizations closing your eyes or opening your eyes. But most of the time, all we see about is, oh my God, this can happen. And oh my God, that can happen. And oh, I can't do this because this will happen. If you start changing and imagining yourself having the money, going shopping, doing all the things that you think you can't afford, if you start seeing yourself doing these things regularly, you're going to find that your opportunities, or that you actually start enjoying being able to do those things. Things start happening. They start changing. Does any of this change overnight? No, it really doesn't. It takes time. It takes repetition. But if you don't start today in changing what you are putting out there, or what you're putting into your mind, then when? Because next year's going to happen, and you can reap the rewards of having more money, more time, more freedom when you start practicing these steps, visualizing, repeating. You may not believe it today. You just, every time you say, I can't afford it, just say, cancel, cancel. I can afford it. Whether you know you can or not, because I know your brain's going to scream at you saying, no, you can't. You got zero. Your cards are maxed out. So one of the tricks is saying, I can't afford it yet. I can afford it soon. I can afford it. Your brain doesn't understand can't. So start saying, I can afford it. And soon you will see that as you visualize, because visualization, you have to see yourself enjoying stuff. If you don't see yourself enjoying stuff, then it is not going to expand. It's not going to be able to, you're not going to see the opportunities when they actually come around, because you're so focused on what you can't do. Now, this is where the power of affirmations really, really steps up the game, because the affirmations work the more you repeat them. And actually saying them out loud, you know, if you have to take 5 minutes, do it in the car. I really do a lot of my affirmations in the car, because people think I'm singing. So I act like I'm singing, and I just do my affirmations, because the more you repeat where you want to go and what you want to have, the faster it starts becoming a reality. So I wanted to explain my homework to you, because this is what I call an abundance journal. Now, this is where the magic happens, because I'm a visual person. When I started deciding that I wanted to get rid of my scarcity. I didn't know how to spend money. I haven't had a lot of money. I wasn't raised with money. And for those that know, I had a special needs child. So when I was 24, then I lost my job and we had to pay for the insurance to keep my daughter in medically insured, so that when we had surgeries, that we had a way to make sure she was able to access medical medical services. So not always having bills and always having more going out than coming in, I never developed a way of knowing how to spend money just on myself. So this is called an abundance journal. And the way this works is that you start on pick a day. If you want to start at the first of the month, you start at the first of the month. But day one, you either pick $10, $100, or $1,000. You pick an amount of money, and then you're going to spend it in your head. But when you start spending the money in your head, it starts changing that you can have and you can afford it. So on day one, you'll have $10. Day two, you'll spend $20. On day three, you'll spend $30. Or if in today's money you can't think of how to spend $30 because one thing will cost $30, then do it in hundreds. Do day one as $100, day two is $200, day three is $300. Pick the amount of money that you're comfortable with in your budget. Some people can do it by the thousands. Day one is 1,000, day two is 2,000, but then you're going to actually write down the things you're going to spend it on. Spend some of it on your home, spend some of it on personal, spend some of it on the family, but spend that money each and every day on paper and start building up the things that you are accumulating that you're telling yourself I can't afford. Can somebody mute? I'm not sure who it is. I can't see everybody. Let's see.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know. Let's see. Kat, is it you or Francis?
No, it's Frankie Scott.
Okay, Frankie. Francis, can you mute, please? So, anyway, let's go back. This is I wanted to go ahead and do that. Okay, so then you start spending it. Now, this is a mental process. Another way that you can really expand your whole, it's an energy thing. It's an energy about having abundance before you have it. So learning how to spend your money, even if it's in your head, and staying within that amount of money it then transitions into your reality, into your regular life. Now, another version of this homework is to have a $20 bill and carry around a $20 bill in your pocketbook. And every time you see something as you're going around, say you're driving by Starbucks. Oh man, I want a latte. I can buy that. A little busy today, I'll come back. But you have the $20 in your hand. And having the money right there, you can say, I can go get that. I can do that. When you start telling yourself you can, it starts opening up the energy, because the energy and how you think about things is what your subconscious works on. So you have to start programming consciously how you want your subconscious to react, because your subconscious is what helps you to see everything. It helps you to do things automatically that help you manifest in helping you to achieve the goals. Because if you don't think you can, or if you think you can, either way, you're right. It's going to happen. Okay, so that was step 2. The first, of course, is is using the affirmations and reprogramming your mind. Yeah, I said there were 3 steps. And in the 3 steps, the first one is using your mind to change how you think about the words that you're using, that I can't afford. The next is practice spending it. Practice spending it every day. Write it down, spend the money. That helps expand your energy, and it just changes things. Don't believe me? Just try it. I dare you. I dare you to try it. Now, the third step is being practical. You know, just because our government decides that it can make money and it can live outside of a budget doesn't mean that we can. So start tracking your expenses and identify areas that maybe you can cut back on. You know, create a budget and stick to it. I have a budget. Anybody have a budget? Anybody actually stick and make and look at what you're spending versus what you have coming in? You have to either look for ways to increase how much money you have coming in, or you have to look for ways that you can live within your budget, and you have to start expanding your skills and the energy that you have on holding on to reality, because reality is what we create. So I hope this has been informative in passing the information. You know, we all have a choice. We have a choice to either stick with what we do every day, the way we talk, the way we think. And when we do that, we're going to keep getting the same things we get, or we can choose to use the power of personal development. So trying to keep this within the hour, I wanted, being respectful of everybody's time, I wanted to present the information and then let you know about the power of personal development. Because when you can unlock your full potential with personal development, you have and can create the thoughts that will shape your reality. Now, whoops, my finger's getting ahead here. So the key benefits of a program in personal development is having something that helps you on a consistent basis develop the positive habits and the mindset to achieve your goals. It's learning those visualization techniques. A lot of us, I don't have, some people can close their eyes and they can see things right on their eyelids. I can't do that. I've had to find a different way to visualize, to get and put myself in where I want to be. And some of you might have that same problem. I didn't know that was even a thing. I just learned about that this year. I just thought that I didn't know anybody. I thought that's how everybody did it. So learning how to visualize, either being able to see it right on your eyelids or having to come up with a different technique, is advantageous in having a step-by-step how to do it and how to build that muscle. And having somebody to talk to means a whole lot, because it helps you understand that, you're really not alone. So many people are going through and have the same things. Whoops, somewhere I missed the slide. Where is it? Somewhere. Oh, I knew there was a slide there. I really went too many ahead, because understanding that you are not alone and that so many people struggle with this, it makes you feel like you aren't different, or that you are, that there's no hope for you. So having and working with a coach and a mentor and a personal development program is the best way to help you achieve your goals so that you can move into a better life. A self-development program will give you the tools and strategies to overcome all of these issues and these struggles that you are having, so you can have your best life now. You can start expanding and changing the things that are happening to you by changing the way you think about it. So I'm offering a personal development program that is an easy guide to you becoming the best version of yourself. So this is a step-by-step online program. You go through it at your own pace. You can click through it It's very, very easy, and it gives you everything you need to know. It also comes with 4 consecutive weeks of meetings for 30 minutes to work on your areas, because we all are different. We all came from different places. We all are dealing with different struggles and situations. So meeting each week for 30 minutes to help you walk through and maybe change the language, change your affirmations. What can, helping you to move yourself into the next level of the best version of you. Plus, once you start on this path, if 4 weeks isn't enough, there's discounted packages for continuing the mentoring program. You get forever the online part. It's yours forever. You can use it to go through time and time. The more times you go, because repetition is absolutely how we conquer all of these issues. Now, as you can see, a road is either paved or not, but a road is never, ever straight. And even if it's straight for a little while, you're going to come to a curve, you're going to come to a problem. But your roads are always going to have some kind of pothole, they're going to have some issue, and having a way to work with somebody to get advice and be your cheerleader. That's what I want to be. I want to be the person that helps you say, I can do anything, because you can. Okay. So Lord knows, where is my things? It is normally, my program is normally $499. But today through tonight, it is only, Lord, I got to get better with my fingers here. Today and tonight, it's only $99. Tomorrow, it will be $199. Are there any questions? Are there anything that I covered that maybe you didn't quite understand? I really appreciate you taking the time to be here. Does anybody have any questions? Well, I know some are at work and can't talk to me. So, Miss Phaedra, would anybody did you have a question, or was?
No, thank you. It was very informative. I don't have any questions.
Okay, very good. All right. Colin, you have any questions? Well, I appreciate.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Oh, now I can hear you.
I guess my question, so when you practice these things, and dare I say, if it doesn't work, what happens then, as they say? So I guess not everything's going to go according to plan, no matter what techniques or whatever we all have.
Kind of like learning the piano, Colin. When you first started, you learn how to do, what is it? Chopsticks, dun, 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 and depending on how much you decide to keep practicing and you keep doing it, depends on the level of effectiveness that you get in playing the music. It's the same thing. There is no failure. You are already creating what you have. So, the thing is, whatever we are repeating every day to ourselves, whatever we're talking about to ourselves, whatever attitudes we have about life is what the universe, or what is our energy, brings into our life. So if it doesn't work, we have to go back and say, okay, what part of my thinking am I not being committed in? Because you get better if you totally practice anything. So if you're looking for a pass or a failure, then that's what you'll get. If you're looking to fail, the thing is everything you're practicing now, questioning this or questioning, and it's all good to question. But if you decide you're not going to give it a chance and go all in, then you don't even know if it can. But life is about, we've repeated these things to ourselves for so long, we don't even know that we're repeating stuff to ourselves. I mean, what's the, so many times when we're driving or something, how many times have you said something will happen and then something else will happen? You go, oh my God, three times and I'm out. Things come in threes. How many times have we said that? Why? Does it? Have you proven it? Or have you said, oh, this time was just different, it only came in ones, or this time it came in fours? Oh, okay, that was it true or not true? Things come in threes. We will either make it true or we will make it not true. It's all in which way you want it to go. I wanted to get rid of scarcity. I got tired of thinking I can't afford it all the time. So I worked at taking out. I thought being frugal was an honorable thing until I realized how it was keeping me being so tied to not having any money. In the year that I've took this out of my language, my income has over doubled. It's almost tripled in what I'm doing. It's a process. It's never, ever, ever done. Because the more we start on layering our thinking, the more things are going to come up and we're going to say, oh, where'd that come from? But how we think, I'm sorry?
Definitely like an onion. And it makes you cry as well, apparently.
It does. And it's okay to cry. Because society has said that we can't cry about stuff. Cry. Because when you release all that, then you can say, okay, now what do I do? How can I fix it? What steps can I take? We are only as stuck as we believe we are. And that's where your limiting beliefs and figuring out what they are, where they are. I have a whole list of 55 limiting beliefs. Anybody want it? Anybody want the copy of 55 limiting beliefs? It's really interesting. Let's see, Vanessa wants it. Okay, Miss Vanessa. Okay, straight from Jade. I do. Okay. All right, Colin, I'll send it to you. I have to send it in in an email. I don't know that I have everybody's email address. If you want to, everybody's in my messenger. If you want to send me your email address in Messenger, I'll be glad to send it out to you because I have it in a PDF. But I'd love for you to have that. If you have questions about my program, I'd love to talk to you about it. This has been life-changing for me, just changing my words. But it's a process. And I would love for everybody to be able to start on this path of creating their best life. Anybody else have any questions? I'm trying to, let me see if I can see the chat. I can't see the chat. No questions. Wonderful job. Okay. All right. All right. Give me your email address and I'll be glad to get it. I kind of rushed through more of it than I had planned to because I know people are at lunch. And so I was afraid of getting it. I have a tendency to be very long-winded sometimes, and I love to chat and I love to tell stories. And so I got a little worried that my stories would be too long. So I appreciate you all for coming. And of course, I look forward to you all having. Okay. I hope I can save. Okay, if everybody wants to drop their email into the chat right this minute, I will save it before I close this meeting down. And of course, if you have any questions, you're welcome to reach out to me. Helping people grow past their I can'ts is my mission, because you being successful is all about you believing you can. And we as women, we were not taught how to do this. Miss Katz here, Miss Kathleen, and she was telling us, in fact, I still have the notes here about women. Did you know that until 1974, women could not have a checking account without a male person being on it? In 1988, it was approved for women to start a business without a man. Guys, we're behind the 8 ball here when it comes to women and our being able to afford anything. When I went to Salem, and this is, if you have to leave, I understand, because this is where my stories get long. I was going to tell you about going to the House of Seven Gables. I took my mom to New Hampshire, for those that may have known about my trip. And in the House of Seven Gables, it was written loosely about the lady who grew up there. And she was very rich, considering the era that it was in. And her dad, she was one of 3 children, and her dad and her brother were killed or were lost at sea. And she inherited the shipping business. And as a woman, you can't have a business or whatever. So her first thing was being very smart. She didn't try to run this business by herself. She sold it. And she started doing a lot of community and building and investing in real estate and in other things and other ways to continue. But she never married, because if a woman got married back in the 1800s or before, even now, sometimes I think women think when they're married, their husbands have it all. We're still tied in some degrees, even though it's the 20th century. Women were not allowed to have any kind of wealth. It was all tied to the man. If you got married, if you were a rich daughter like she was, if she married, her new husband got everything. Guys, we weren't taught how to build wealth. We weren't taught how to manage our budget. Most of us were not taught anything about money, except that there isn't enough of it. And when you grow up and that's all you hear is that it's not enough money ever, we don't have any money, then that becomes what we are used to. That's all we keep creating in our life, is not having enough money. And so when you start looking through history, I found that very interesting, that here was this rich woman. She was very pretty. It wasn't because she was, but she made the choice to stay single. Thanks, Kat. She made the choice to stay single so that she could still have influence. So she could still have the money and the stuff, because she was the last living heir to the fortune. And it's sad to think that she had to give up or not enjoy. Not to say she didn't enjoy a whole lot, but she had to. Back then, it wasn't okay for women to enjoy anything without the stigmas of and repercussions from being a loose woman, or just not being an upright woman, or the values of a lady. The constraints were immense on women. So we have to quit beating ourselves up and quit and question, where does "I can't afford it" come from? Because it's either a habit that you learned to say from when you were a kid, or because you didn't have any money and you truly believe that you can't afford anything. And we figure out where it is. So I hope that these limiting beliefs, the 55 of them, is enlightening to you as it was to me. And there again, I appreciate your time and for showing up to this and to show up. That's it. Absolutely, Miss Jade. You can afford it. Absolutely. Has everybody dropped in their email in the chat before I say goodbye? And I will save it and send it out, or send it to me in the messenger, so that I can send out the PDF with the 55, because our whole life is about what we were taught. and what we continue to teach ourselves. And until we decide to teach ourselves something different, it will stay the same. All right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you. All right. Let me save this chat. All right. Participant can chat, save chat. All right. I got that. All right.